There's an awful lot of myths about 17th century clothing, particularly during and following the British Civil Wars of the 40s, from Puritans only wearing black to the extravagance of Charles I's Cavaliers. Let's bust a couple of those myths today as we take a look at some examples of typical English fashion during the 17th century with the help of two of our museum volunteers. Over the next two videos, we'll track men and women's fashion from lower class workwear to upper middle class wear for a day on the town. In this first video, we're going to start with the men. Let's start by looking at our base layer. He wears a simple grey cap to cover his head, a white linen shirt, naturally dyed russet-coloured breeches supporting by a belt, his socks or hose filling the space between his knees, and his workman boots made of leather with hobnails on the bottom for grip. Beginning with your low-born workman, he first puts on a grey wool jacket called a doublet. You'll be seeing a lot of wool in this video as it was one of England's largest and most profitable exports, therefore produced and accessed fairly cheaply domestically. This was handy, as the 17th century climate tends to be known as a little ice age, with cooler summers and harsher winters. The jacket is tied with simple tapes. This was a simple and inexpensive way to close your jacket, and it's the same fastenings you would see the common soldier wearing. Let's skip watching him do all these up. Next, he wears a looser grey wool coat called a Dutch coat, this time fastened with many wooden buttons. Though the amount of buttons on the coat look decorative and extravagant, they actually allow it to be more practical and adjustable garment. Now, most working men in England in the 17th century worked the land, and his clothing had to be practical for the demands of such physical labour. He goes down simply to a shirt and replaces his wool cap with a straw hat to shade himself from the sun. He rolls up his sleeves to avoid them getting in the way, as well as getting too dirty. And he's ready to go. Moving a step up now, we'll look at the clothing of a lower merchant. He adds a layer to his base now, a simple grey wool waistcoat known as a singlet. Already, the difference in the quality of his clothing is visible. He fastens this with pewter buttons instead of tapes. Instead of a wool cap, he wears this fashionable hat. His Dutch coat has also improved, with a colourful lining for decoration, a less practical design, and flashier buttons. After checking everything is tucked in neatly, he is ready to head out. Moving another step up, we're now looking at a gentleman. His doublet over his singlet is far more tailored and fitting to him than it was when he was a common farm labourer. It's adorned and detailed with braids that match his breeches nicely, creating an altogether tidier and more polished look. You may notice that he has been, and now even more so, leaving many buttons undone. This is not a mistake, but a fashionable 17th century trend. Leaving one's doublet open slightly allows everyone to see, and you to show off, how many fine layers you are wearing. He then places an external collar on top before securing it and tucking it in. His wide-brim hat contains a metal cap known as a secret, allowing him to be both safe and fashionable during the Civil Wars. Moving up for the final time to the rank of Cavalry Officer, military prowess being the status symbol of the day, we require a change of shoes. These riding boots could be worn both practically and for aesthetic reasons. While we're here, you may also notice the fastening around his knees on his breeches. All would fasten their breeches with ties, though the wealthy could afford finer and flashier materials to do so. Back to his boots, wearing them as a fashion accessory for now, he rolls down and turns up the top to make them more suitable for walking round normally. This doublet is the finest of all shown today. From its close-tailored fit, its rich, expensive black dye, blue lining and yellow tape on all border pieces. He pulls out his shirt from his doublet sleeves before rolling them up, to better show off the quality of it. He once again makes sure all his layers are visible to better show off his rank and wealth, and tops it off with his wide brim hat. In times when he needs to ride, casually or in times of battle, all he needs to do is unroll his boots, and he's ready to go. And there you have men's style, from the humble working farmer to the up-and-coming cavalry officer. Check back in next week when we'll do exactly the same, but for women. See you there!